Trump reportedly caught on tape. Damaging new evidence in the Trump classified documents criminal investigation. CNN is reporting prosecutors have obtained an audio recording of a summer 2021 meeting in which former President Donald Trump acknowledges that he held on to a classified Pentagon document about a potential attack on Iran. The recording indicated Trump understood that he had retained classified materials after leaving the White House. The report adds, on the recording, Trump's comments suggest he would like to share the information, but he's aware of limitations on his ability post-presidency to declassify records. This directly undercuts one of Trump's defenses that he could and that he did declassify everything. CNN has not listened to the recording.
Just real quick. This is a level of clusterfuck. This is a level of like illegality that is. I don't know that anyone can really like explain. Like, nah, he's talking about how he knows he's not supposed to have that information and how like he knows he's not supposed to disseminate it, but he still has it. And at this point was pretending as if he had already given it back. You know, he was in either negotiations or was in a we already gave it back to you LOL mode. Yeah, like, man, I can't imagine more of a like lol he's fucked moment, you know?
Recording, but multiple sources have described it, and NBC News has not confirmed this reporting. Now, consider this breaking news with the same lens of new reporting from the Washington Post that prosecutors are closing in on Trump, eyeing Mar-a-Lago's surveillance video and possible gaps. The Post reporting Mar-a-Lago prosecutors are looking at a July 2022 episode with Trump surveillance cameras. An employee who helped move boxes of documents last June was then reportedly questioned about his conduct weeks later related to a government demand for surveillance footage from Trump's property. And detailing the employee's actions have caught the attention of investigators as they try to determine whether Trump or people close to him sought to obstruct justice. Joining me now is Maya Wiley, CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights and former SDNY civil prosecutor, and Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor and professor of law at Georgetown University. Folks, this is some big news, and of course the caveat is NBC News has not confirmed the reporting yet, but assuming arguendo what we've read so far is true. Maya, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts on this explosive new CNN report?
Well, you said the word, Katie, explosive. I mean, all of this investigation on the part of Jack Smith is about...
And I mean, like, also, bear in mind, he literally had like, in just this one call, one document detailing, like war plans with Iran. Like, just absolute insane shit he had access to.
About determining Trump's state of mind if Donald Trump is to be charged with any crime here. Now, we already know the evidence has been very strong, and, you know, many legal experts of all stripes, and even all political persuasions, including Donald Trump's own former attorney, believe he's in deep peril on an obstruction charge related to these presidential documents that he does not own, that the American people own.
Nah, I don't believe it.
Anything that gives evidence...
Nah, he literally stole nuclear state secrets from the United States. I don't think he's just getting a slap on the wrist for this one, folks.
An indication that he completely understood that he was not to have or share these documents is just the last nail in a coffin that already has a whole lot of nails in it.
Maya Wiley, I was the paragon of grace. Deep peril is a very polite way of saying something even deeper. Paul, sources are describing the recording as an important piece of evidence in a possible case against Trump, who has repeatedly asserted he could retain presidential records and, quote, automatically declassify documents. Paul, you and I, Maya, all of us, we've talked a lot about the obstruction component of this investigation, but do we now have some of the strongest evidence in support of an Espionage Act violation here?
Absolutely, Katie. This is devastating for Donald Trump.
And keep in mind, when they talk about the Espionage Act, that is one of the things that Donald Trump was charged for. That was what they were looking for, like possible breaches of the Espionage Act.
For two reasons. First, as Maya said, it's a confession on audio tape that Trump knew that he possessed classified documents. So Trump's defense that he had declassified everything is just a lie. Trump was fully aware that he was illegally hoarding top secret government documents. And second, to your point, Katie, if this reporting is true, this is about national security. It's way more than a documents case, as Mar-a-Lago has sometimes been dismissed. So the most important question is one we don't know the answer to, but Jack Smith might. How was Trump intending to use this material? Maybe he was just holding on to it to impress his friends and kind of a criminal version of show and tell. But prosecutors, they always follow the money, and they almost certainly suspect that Trump had some kind of caper in mind, that he either did or planned to use his illegal access to the nation's most sensitive secrets to enrich himself or to forward his political ambitions.
You know, Maya, I want to emphasize a couple of things that came out of this CNN report. Number one, it dealt with plans for a possible attack on Iran. Talk about security issues, international relations, domestic security issues. But what really struck me, though, is this report talks about, Maya, General Mark Milley. He's actually testified before the grand jury and met with investigators for special counsel Jack Smith. How much more compelling evidence would you need as Jack Smith to be able to be at this point, this tipping point of bringing an indictment against Donald Trump, considering you'd have a witness like Mark Milley who's telling the grand jury and the investigators for Jack Smith what happened, what that document was? I mean, this is yet another layer in a huge peeling onion that shows that Trump has some serious exposure here.
Yeah, there's no question it's a significant layer of onion peel. And both to Paul's really important point and your own, Katie, we don't even know how many more layers to this onion there is in terms of all these classified documents. It was one of the reasons everyone was so deeply concerned that it wasn't just a mere document retention issue, but that it was the nature of how many and how seriously classified, as we know there are different levels of classification there are. So to your point, we know that there are witnesses appearing in droves at this point, despite Donald Trump's best efforts and his legal team's best efforts to keep people with knowledge and information that directly relates to what Donald Trump might know and what these documents represented away from Jack Smith and away from that grand jury. And we don't know what any of these witnesses are saying, but what we do know is they are at the top of the government food chain in terms of who has been testifying before this grand jury, who would have direct knowledge and who would have every personal interest in making sure they were not perjuring themselves. And possibly, because we don't know, even being offered the opportunity to have immunity if they had any concern about their own criminal liability. So that's just a long way of saying we don't know all the facts. Paul is really right to spell that out. But to your point, Katie, we certainly know that people who, if they're goods to be got, Jack Smith's got the folks who got them.
And Paul, to Maya's point, DOJ prosecutors, they're always moving at different paces. There's different kind of components to an investigation. But what we do know from reporting, these prosecutors are laser focused on as well the Mar-a-Lago surveillance video with a staffer being questioned. I mean, considering where we are, that you might have video evidence of a crime being committed, but then you're able to actually get to and speak to witnesses that actually were a part of the kind of boots on the ground operation that Trump might be running at Mar-a-Lago. Where are we in this probe then, and considering the evidence that Jack Smith has on his plate?
It certainly seems like we're near the end of the investigation. Now, what is likely happening is prosecutors are drawing up a draft indictment, and I want to focus or emphasize draft. It doesn't mean that there's been a decision made. to prosecute Donald Trump, but typically in public corruption cases, especially high-profile cases like this, prosecutors will draft an indictment and then have a review session with all of the experienced prosecutors to determine whether first the case should be brought, and second, whether the case can be won. That is, a jury can be persuaded beyond a reasonable doubt. And Katie, we already knew that there was this mysterious Mar-a-Lago employee who was involved with moving the documents around, possibly as part of the obstruction of justice that a federal judge found probable cause was happening at Mar-a-Lago. That was the basis of the search warrant last August. Now there's even more evidence of obstruction. Somebody at Mar-a-Lago was worried about what those videotapes might show. The cliche, it's always the cover-up, it's often true.
So, yeah. We don't know, like, I think part of the reason this hasn't been getting as much traction as a story like this might usually is because we don't know when that indictment is dropping. So it can kind of feel like, oh, well, sure, they got new stuff, but it doesn't really matter because nothing's going to happen, right? I think a lot of people are falling into that category, or that mind frame. But I gotta say, guys, I feel like this Jack Smith indictment probe has been, like, just every piece, every shred of news that comes out about it sounds like they about to get his ass, you know? Yeah, and given the fact that the information is leaking now, Smith might have had this for a bit now, you know? And you can tell Trump is just panicking about everything. You know, basically, Donald Trump's, like, happy place right now is anytime he gets to, like, go out in front of a crowd and just shit all over Ron DeSantis. just all over him. And frankly, it's working. It's successfully distracting people. It's really just how far can they postpone and push things off, how much he can delay and downplay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, Donald Trump's main legal strategy is to win the 2024 election while doing as much, like, legal grandstanding as possible to delay. And then he's hoping he'll win the 2024 election in order to pardon himself, you know?
If you think about it, the right has had a really bad year.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that's true, you know? There are a lot of really horrible things, especially related to, like, trans healthcare going on right now, but, like, the right on a larger scale, not necessarily on state-level scales, has just been getting its shit kicked in. Unfortunately, I think that is serving to rally the most radical elements of Trump's base in a way that is dangerous on local and state levels. But if everything goes well, 2024 might be the year that, like, these ghouls finally realize they don't have enough power to seize control again, which would be a positive, you know, development. I almost feel sorry for them. Nah, you don't gotta feel sorry for those ghouls. Also, I saw someone talking about something Nikki Haley said, and I legit forgot she was running. I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like, I was having a talk with my mom the other day about politics, and she was adamant. She was adamant that, like, you know, the fever was gonna break soon. You know, like, oh, you know, look, we need. She's like, we need someone like that Asa Hutchinson or Tim Scott to rally everyone behind them, because I think most Republicans don't want Donald Trump. And it's just like, nah, most Republicans love Donald Trump. Like they love that he's awful. They love it. They love that he's homophobic. They love that he's transphobic. They love that he's racist. They love that he hates the people they hate. Maybe she's used to the fever breaking in previous elections, but like the fever never broke in previous elections, really. That's what confuses me. And I even brought up like the fever breaking analogy, you know, Barack Obama famously said the fever will break when talking about Republican obstruction in Congress. Guess what? It never broke. They just kept radicalizing. But like the other part is Tim Scott, Asa Hutchinson, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about them. Because everyone knows that the people running in this election cycle are running for cabinet positions. They know that. They're running for cabinet positions or the VP. Like, and they aren't like good, honest actors either who want to just be nice little cuddly Republicans. You know, that they are also all monsters. Hello, off-world colonist. Well, and that's the thing, Catalina Gearbox. I don't think my mom knows. I don't think your average liberal believes that Republicans want to kill all of us. I don't think your average liberal believes that. Your average liberal, like, will listen to that and just be like, "Oh, you're being full of crazies."